Dario Amodi built one of the most powerful AI companies on the planet. He knows exactly what this technology can do, and last month he went on record and said that the government needs to stop sugarcoating what's coming. His words. The CEO of Anthropic, the man building the actual thing. He said that AI could wipe out nearly half of all entry-level white-collar jobs in the next few years, push employment to 10, maybe even 20% within 5 years. When the person building the weapon starts warning you about the weapon, you probably shouldn't look away. So let's talk about what's actually happening, because there's what people believe about AI and jobs, and then there's what the data shows is already happening. Those two things are not the same anymore. Most people still think of AI disruption as a future problem, something to worry about in 2030 or 2035, something that will mostly hit factory workers and truck drivers. The conventional wisdom is that knowledge work is safe, that if you have a degree, specialized skills, and years of experience, you have a moat, you have stability. You already know that AI is changing things, but what most people are missing is that the moat filled in way faster than anyone expected. The disruption isn't coming for the bottom of the labor market first, it's coming for the top. Back in the first 6 months of 2025 alone, nearly 78,000 tech jobs were directly attributed to AI-driven cuts. That's over 400 highly qualified people losing their jobs every single day, not factory workers or cashiers, but people with degrees, credentials, and specialized skills. The Bureau of Labor Statistics reported the lowest number of job openings in professional services since 2013, a 20% drop year over year. Professional services, the sector that was supposed to be automation proof. And then let's look at what's happening at the job category level. Computer graphic artists, people who went to school specifically for a technical creative skill, saw job postings drop 33% in 2025 after already dropping 12% the year before. Corporate compliance specialists dropped 29% in 2025. These aren't generalist roles. They are specialized, educated professionals whose specific skills are now replicatable by software. LinkedIn's 2024 workforce data shows the split clearly. Job postings for roles with high routine cognitive content, think data entry, report generation, basic financial analysis. Meanwhile, postings requiring strategic judgment and creative direction grew by 21%. The labor market is bifurcating, and the bottom half of that split is collapsing fast. McKinsey estimated that generative AI could automate activities representing 60 to 70% of working time in certain office occupations. This isn't fringe analysis. This is McKinsey telling Fortune 500 companies that most of what their entry-level staff does can now be done by software. And Fortune 500 companies tend to act on McKinsey analyses. Customer service was one of the first sectors to fall, and it fell fast. In 2020, AI chatbots handled about 30% of first-level support requests at large tech companies. Today, that number is over 85%. Salesforce's Mark Benoff confirmed that his company cut 4,000 customer service professionals following an AI deployment. Gartner projects that by 2027, chatbots will be the primary service channel for roughly a quarter of all organizations globally, reducing the average handle time by 35%. Handle time goes down, then headcount goes down. That's just the math, and it's not that complicated. And then we have law. Law firms spend decades hiding behind credentials and billable hours. The logic was airtight. You cannot replace a lawyer. The liability alone requires a human. Here is what the argument looks like now. Tools like Casetext conduct legal research and draft contracts in just minutes, which is tasks that previously took a junior associate hours or even days, billing at $300 an hour. Thomson Reuters found that 62% of law firm leaders are already using or piloting AI for document drafting, legal research, and contract review. That number was 29% just 18 months ago. Paralegals are now facing an 80% automation risk by the end of 2026. Law school applicants dropped 8% in 2024, the steepest single-year decline since 2011. Applicants cited AI disruption as the primary reason for withdrawing. A profession that spent generations building barriers to entry is watching the barriers become irrelevant from the inside out. The World Economic Forum projects 83 million jobs lost globally to AI and automation by 2027. Goldman Sachs put a number on total exposure, which is 300 million full-time jobs worldwide could be affected by generative AI. In the US specifically, up to 46% of tasks performed by entry-level employees could be automated in the next decade. Elon and Andrew Yang report that to be much higher. This translates to roughly 10 to 20 million entry-level office jobs, and those aren't projections modeled by alarmists. They are produced by the same institutions that manage corporate risk. Now, here is where it gets specific because broad statistics let companies hide. Let's name names. So IBM announced a pause on hiring of roughly 8,000 roles that could be replaced by AI, specifically targeting HR and administrative support. That's 26,000 employees in the crosshairs. Accenture cut 19,000 jobs in 2023, primarily non-billable and entry-level staff, while simultaneously increasing investment in generative AI deployment. Amazon announced 16,000 corporate cuts, half of the 30,000 eliminated since October, all framed around AI efficiency gains. For a company with 1.5 million employees, that sounds small until you realize that it's 10% of the entire corporate hierarchy. Now, JP Morgan managers have been told to avoid hiring people as the firm deploys AI across its businesses. One of the world's largest banks essentially announcing a quiet hiring freeze on humans. The pattern is not subtle anymore. Every earnings call, fire humans, announce AI investment, watch the stock price climb. Now, let's talk about Sarah. Sarah graduated at the top of her class with a finance degree. She applied to 247 jobs, entry-level positions, the exact roles her education was designed to prepare her for. She got 0 callbacks, and she's not even an outlier. The Federal Reserve Bank of New York found that the underemployment rate for recent college graduates hit 41.3% in 2024. 4 in 10 college graduates work jobs that do not require a college degree, the highest rate recorded since the Fed began tracking this in 2001. At the same time, internship listings, the gateway that was supposed to bridge education and employment, have been falling by more than 15% since January 2023. Applications per posting jumped from 62 2 years ago to 109 last year. In tech, 273 applicants per intern position. Financial services, 192. Professional services, 187. The National Association of Colleges and Employers reported that employer internship hiring intentions dropped 14.3% for the 2024 to 2025 academic year, the largest single-year decline in their survey's 30-year history. Sarah is applying into a funnel that is closing while the line behind her grows. And the automated rejection emails she receives were probably generated by AI. Her roommate, a paralegal, was laid off. An AI tool now handles the document review and contract drafting her roommate used to do for a fraction of the cost. Sarah's friend, who went to trade school, has 3 job offers right now and is negotiating salary. That is not an anecdote. That is the structure behind what is happening. So why is this time actually different? Because skeptics always have a counter argument ready. They point to the printing press, the steam engine, the computer. They say every generation panics about automation and every generation's workforce adapts and new jobs appear. The economy adjusts. That argument is worth taking seriously because historically, that has been correct. But here's the structural break. Every prior wave of automation targeted physical tasks or routine procedural tasks. The printing press displaced manual transcription. The industrial machine replaced manual labor. Even the personal computer primarily automated routine data processing. Each time, the safe harbor for educated workers was non-routine cognitive work. Judgment, analysis, interpretation, strategy, machines were provably bad at. Generative AI is the first technology to directly displace non-routine cognitive tasks at scale. The MIT Work of the Future Task Force called it a genuine structural discontinuity, not a cyclical adjustment. Not dramatic academic language. Those are careful researchers explicitly saying this category break is real. The spreadsheet analogy is the clearest way to understand it. Spreadsheets did not do your accounting for you. The human was still necessary. Generative AI does not make you faster at drafting a contract, it drafts the contract. The human becomes optional, then redundant, then a cost to be eliminated. Anthropic's own research describes the current phase as augmentation, AI helping humans do their jobs faster. But they project that augmentation will shift to automation, AI doing the jobs themselves within a couple of years. Eric Brynjolfsson at Stanford documented that AI tools increased high-skill knowledge work productivity by 40%. Prior tech waves, when productivity went up by 40%, companies hired to capture the additional output. This time, they captured the productivity gains and cut the headcount proportionally. That's the break. Productivity gains are no longer expanding employment, they're replacing it. The Bank for International Settlements looked at 28 OECD countries and found that AI adoption in professional services is associated with a 12% reduction in employment growth in exposed sectors. They explicitly noted that this effect was not observed with previous waves of office technology, including the personal computers and internet adoption. This is not a repeat of history. The historical comparison is the wrong frame, and the downstream consequences are already spreading beyond the job market itself. Student loan delinquency. 1 in 3 borrowers are making payments more than 90 days late. 1 in 5 has stopped paying altogether. The CFPB found that among borrowers aged 22 to 35, delinquency rates hit 21.4% within a year of payment restart. disproportionately concentrated among people who graduated in the 2023 to 2025 job market. A college degree was sold as an investment. The return on that investment was predicated on getting a job in the field that you're trained for. If AI is eliminating the entry-level roles in finance, law, consulting, and technology before you can get your first position, the investment thesis breaks. Unemployed graduates do not buy houses. The median age for first-time home buyers keeps climbing. They do not start families on the timelines economists projected. They move back in with their parents. They delay every major economic decision, and they watch the savings they were supposed to accumulate evaporate while the AI trained on their work output does the jobs they spent 4 years preparing for. And here's the part that most concerned observers miss. This does not just harm the people who cannot get entry-level jobs. It damages the entire professional pipeline. Companies still need senior employees. They need the people with experience, institutional knowledge, and judgment. The ones who can make complex clients make high-stakes calls and lead teams through ambiguity. But those people do not appear from nowhere. They start as 22-year-olds making mistakes on small projects. They learn by doing the work that currently gets handed to the junior hire. Remove the junior roles, and in 10 years, you have a workforce with no experienced mid-level talent coming up behind the current senior generation. It is exactly like eliminating minor league baseball and then wondering why major league talent levels keeps declining a decade later. Burning Glass labor market data shows that entry-level job postings requiring 0 to 2 years of experience declined 23% between 2022 and 2025. Postings requiring 5 or more years of experience increased 18%. Companies are pulling up the ladder, and mid-career professionals will feel that in ways that are not anticipated yet. A 2024 MIT study found that for every new job created in AI, 2 to 3 junior jobs disappeared or were never posted. AI creates one machine learning engineer position at $150,000. It eliminates 3 data entry analyst positions at $50K each. But payroll looks similar on paper. But tell that to the people who never got hired, never built skills, and never became the mid-level managers that companies need in 5 years. So what do you actually do with this information? The trades analogy from the original story is real, but it applies more broadly than most people realize. The electrician who fixes the server farm has better job security than the paralegal the server farm replaced. Physical presence, dexterity, site-specific judgment, those are remaining moats against automation for now. But if you're already in a white-collar career, the question is not whether you become an electrician. The question is, where are you sitting in the professional hierarchy and whether you are moving up fast enough to stay above the automation line. The roles that are genuinely resilient are the ones requiring contextual judgment, accountability, relationship management, and strategic decision-making under uncertainty. The roles being eliminated are the ones that can be described as a repeatable process. If your job can be written as a series of logical steps, as an SOP, it can be automated. If your value is the judgment you bring into a situation that does not always have a clear answer, you have a runway. But here's the thing about that runway. It's not automatically available to everyone. It requires positioning. It requires being known for something specific. And in a market where entry-level pipeline is collapsing, mid-career professionals who are not actively moving into those higher value roles are going to find themselves squeezed between automation from below and consolidation from above. The comfortable middle of the salary curve is getting hollowed out in real time. Job security is not a feature of your education level anymore. Job security is the active result of putting yourself in the right roles, in the right companies, at the right compensation level before consolidation catches up. One decision away from a dramatically different income situation is not motivational framing. It is the actual structure of how the market works right now. The gap between people who are actively repositioning and people who are waiting to see how this plays out is going to look enormous in 3 years. There's a version of the next 5 years where you are the person with leverage in this market pulling in 100K, 200K, 300K, more than you are now in a remote role that is resilient to what is coming. There's another version of you that is just playing in this old, outdated job market where you stay safe in your role, you hopefully don't get laid off, but even if you do, you're just falling further and further behind. And whichever one you end up in isn't random. It's what you decide to do now in the 12 to 20 to 24 months that you have before things get really real. Are you going to play it safe or are you going to take massive action? Our company, Elevated Tech, runs done-for-you job search. We've done it for over 500 professionals from Meta, Netflix, Airbnb, Google, ESPN, Accenture, and more. White glove, done for you. For many people, if you qualify, we'll guarantee your job placement in 90 days, and we'll apply to 2,000 jobs a month for you and treat it like a math problem. Try to get 20 interviews a month, 1% response rate. Over a few months, that's 50 to 60 interviews, and it's almost impossible not to have a job. That's why the market still exists. There's still jobs out there, and many people who we support are trying to stack remote jobs or actively doing it. They want to work 1, 2, maybe even 3 remote jobs at the same time so they can save up couple $100,000 for the next decade that might be pretty challenging. So if you align with that, you want to learn more, click the link below to apply, and we'll see you there. Make sure you subscribe because we drop weekly videos on what's going on with AI, what's going on with the job market, and how will it affect your ability to create income for you and your family. See you in the next video.